Good morning, Rob. It's great to be here, and I'm not going to say who the guest or the co-host is until you've introduced him. You gave me so much grief last time, so I'm just going to sit here and say, good morning, Rob.
Well, remember, that was just one part of the grief.
There's a lot, yeah.
The other part of the
Badger,
grief,
he was all over me the other day.
the other part of the grief was as soon as I introduced Maria, she couldn't get hello out before you jumped right back in and took over the conversation. She literally didn't finish the O part of hello.
She appreciated that.
She always does. Yeah. Let's say good morning to the Badger Delegate Michael Hite. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm not a Bill, but good morning.
It's great to have you here nevertheless.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's been
There you go.
Yeah, he's been talking Badger-like things this morning.
Put that key in Bill's back and wind him up.
Well, that's exactly it. You know, it's not that I've been the Badger this morning as much as Bill's been stirring the pot since I got here.
It took you all of 8 seconds to get all fired up. You got that red face was going. You got that. You brought as soon as when the Badger brings the elbows in, that's when you know it's time. When the hands are out here, you're okay. But when the elbows hit the rib cage, the double elbow, double rib cage shot, you know the Badger's winding up.
Face gets red, nostrils start flaring.
That's right.
We got another 2 hours to go. Our guest in this segment is the mayor of the city of Martinsburg, Kevin Knowles. Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning. Good morning. And Bill wound me up today, too.
But he's so calm. Compared to the Badger, Kevin is just calm, takes it all in stride.
The Badger wears his emotions on his sleeves. He doesn't have sleeves today, so that's something to note. Well, anyway, Mike, you seem like you've calmed down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm in good mood today.
Let's see how long that continues.
Probably till
Larry Schultz
Joe
takes that
asks the question.
So you were flying yesterday, I understand.
I was. I bought a little Cessna 150, and my son and I flew it back from Georgia on Wednesday and Thursday. So
that's with that $200,000 a year salary delegate scale.
Yeah, that's that delegate salary that allows me to afford that. Actually, small planes like that aren't real expensive.
My neighbor bought one a few years back.
You did? Your neighbor?
My neighbor, yeah.
I asked him if it was built by Boeing, and Mike hasn't. No. I'm going to tell my quick Boeing story. I told you a second ago. Have patience, Rob.
Good to be here, Rob.
This was told. Let me tell this story. An astronaut told me this a few years or so ago, and a group of astronauts were in Seattle.
Mike, lock up when he's done. Yeah.
It's been nice being here.
Yeah, it's a good story, but I've been chastised. I won't tell a story.
No, go ahead. You started.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
A group of astronauts were in Seattle for a training mission, and Boeing had just brought online, or in the process of bringing online, a state-of-the-art aircraft. It's still going through test flights, and the lead test pilot asked the astronauts if they wanted to go up with this new aircraft. They said, sure, why not? So they were flying around Pacific Northwest, around Seattle. And the chief test pilot, turned to one of the astronauts and said, would you like to take control for a while? And the astronaut said, sure, would enjoy doing it, because all these folks are experienced with flying. And so one took the flight, got up and handed the stick to the next one. So all the exception of one, astronauts flew the aircraft. And then down to the last one is also timed to go for the landing. And the test pilot asked the last astronaut, would you like to land the aircraft? And I believe it was the lady, I'm not 100% sure, said, yes, I'd like to. And so came in, and they got on the ground okay, but it was a very bumpy flight. And the lead astronaut said, it's okay, how many of those have you done? She said, well, I'm checked out on a Cessna, and I've only made 5 or 6 landings. and they said the test pilot just about died.
So are you saying she was a DEI hire?
I did not say that.
That's what it sounded like to me. I just
holy mackerel! Come on, Kevin, take care of this guy.
Well, Mayor, good luck following that story.
So we're done?
We're done now.
My time is up? Thanks, Bill. You saved me some grief, man.
Can't get in trouble if you don't talk.
It's a good story.
It's even better the second time.
It's short of the second time.
Let's talk about the State of the City speech last Thursday. We had two council people in this week, Nelson and then Baker, and they both had positive thoughts about your State of the City speech. So tell me some of the things that you covered in that last week.
Well, this was something that I wanted to do since I became mayor, and I had my first one last year and made a commitment to do a State of the City address every year, either at the end of May or the beginning of June, before the new fiscal year starts. So one was to identify the individuals responsible for things that happen in the city. So we had a lot of our department heads there and identified them to the work that they did over the past year. We talked about the 2024-2025 budget, which was about $52 million, and what that budget was used for, and the successes that we had during this past fiscal year. And we talked about what's ahead this coming fiscal year that starts July 1st. And we had a lot of really good things happen over that fiscal year. One was, we saw the finishing of our police department. Our city hall. City hall was completed. We're moved into. We were out of there about 2 years, and then we also finished our Department of Public Works new administrative building. So those were two big projects that were on the books that we were able to close out during that fiscal year. One of the biggest things is our city police department was understaffed for quite a while. For about 2 years, they were down about 13 police officers, and through incentives and pay raises, we were able to fully staff our police department. So we have a fully staffed police department as we sit here today. I just swore in 5 young officers last night that made it complete. So we're real excited about that. We talked about,
Kevin, before you go further, you mentioned young officers. Were some of the officers also people who've moved into the area or maybe left a job to take a job here?
I can't say for sure for these 5, but we've had other officers come from other places to as part of that part of getting fully staffed. But if everybody looks young to me. So if I looked at the 5 last night, I would say that they were all first-time officers.
Everybody, Kevin?
That's what I was laughing about. Go, you're a good man, Kevin. Go ahead. Stick by your guns. Don't listen to him, Mario.
I must have missed that somewhere along the line.
Does Bill look young to you?
Oh, well, Bill looks about the same age as I do. There you go, Bill. I know Bill a long time, so I'm not playing that game.
Young at heart.
That's right. And also we talked about the reason why we were able to maintain and build our police department is we citywide over the last 3 years we were able to give a 20% pay raise to bring our pay scales up equitable to county and surrounding areas, so that we can keep good quality workforce, not only just in the police department but throughout the city. So we're excited about that. And also, again, the city saw an increase in business licenses of 15%. I want to say that's at least 2 years it's been like that, and it could be 3 years that we've seen that kind of increase. So it's showing that the city is open for business and people are coming and doing business within the city. And we also talked about we have several hundred housing units in the process of permitting right now. So we're going to see some more growth within the city limits, and talked about what we're looking forward to this next year.
Very good. What is the status of road projects in the city right now, Kevin?
Well, this year we have a $1 million paving project that we put on. Every year we spend about $1 million on paving, because we have, I could be wrong with this, over 13 square miles of roads to pave, and we do so much one year, and year after year after year. I want to say that the city roads, I think, are one of the best city roads in the state. You don't find the potholes. You don't find. We're able to take care of those things. Now, keep in mind, we don't control Queen Street. We don't control the Raleigh Street extension. We don't control King Street. We don't control Moeller Avenue. Those are state designated roads, and sometimes it's difficult to work with them to be able to do some paving. And now with the new initiative that the governor come down, it's just really just maintenance he's looking at right now.
Kevin, you mentioned city limits a while ago. Are you still expanding the city limits? In times past, you've gotten some land that was previously in the county and now within the city.
We just did a small piece, annex a small piece. The developer asked to be annexed in, and the county approved it, and it was for housing units. As far as expanding any of our, at some point we probably should take a look at putting our lines better together as far as annexation within the city. I mean, if you take a look at the city map, and for example, my house is on West Virginia Avenue. The 1405 is in the city, 1404 is in the county. So there's a lot of donut holes within the city that I would really like to see combined and put into one. Because I mean, you go around the block at some of those roads are terrible because nobody owns them, and the city is not going to. If the city does one road outside the city, you know what happens there. You do one, you're going to have to do them all.
You mentioned Raleigh Street Extension being a state road. A couple of times this week with members of city council on, I've made the suggestion that a road should be named after George Carrish. Your argument, though, that is not your decision. That is the legislature's decision because it's a state road.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, we went through this with Mayor Johnson, that naming things. The council didn't have the flavor, or doesn't have the flavor to be naming anything after anybody within the city or anybody at all. I think we just opened a park on Burke Street and went back and forth, and we call it Burke Street Park, and just so you can have the identification of where it's at.
Makes sense to me. Right.
So that means there will not be a major section of the city named for Kevin Knowles someday?
Never. Maybe the sewer department.
All right, that's something. Just keep the windows open.
Depending on who you talk to, Bill. I hope you won't let that happen.
Wow. Mr. Height.
Well, I'd just like to say a couple of things. Number one, from about the 70s or 80s, our city started going into decline. And I think people have noticed that over the years and have wanted to do something about it. And I, for one, can see the changes that are being made now, and that the city's on the rise and it's improving. And I like seeing this. I also want to commend you for doing the State of the City address. I think the citizens, the people of Berkeley County, want to know what's going on in the city and want to know what improvements are being made. So being transparent and letting all that information out is a great thing. And I'm glad you started doing that. I think you're doing a great job in the city, and I hope you continue with that. I will agree with you. I hope you find a way to start annexing some of these donut holes that they've been, I think, a problem for years and years. As somebody who used to run ambulance and fire calls with Baker Heights, I can remember having to go through the city to get into what was considered our call area to provide ambulance service or fire service, and it's never made any sense to me at all why I'm going into the city to provide support, simply because the city hasn't annexed these particular areas. And some of them, I think, there's probably not a whole lot of money to it for you guys. Those particular areas, the income you're going to get off of it is probably not a whole lot. So, I could see why maybe they weren't wanted to be annexed in the past, but I believe, I think you do, that's the right thing to do and what the city should do. So
yeah, I mean, it makes, to me, it makes sense.
Sure.
I mean, no, whether they're in the city or not, our city vehicles still use those roads, and we have to go through them. And don't get me wrong, if there's a call in those parts of the areas, the city still responds to those calls. So we're not going to let those citizens suffer in any way. But it makes perfect sense. I mean, the roads are the process is the problem. Mike. There's a process for annexation, and the city could just take it, and nobody wants to just force
Sure.
it on anybody. And then I believe you need 100% of the people that live in there to sign off. I believe that, and I could be wrong. And then not only that, then it has to go to the county, and the county has to approve it. So,
But
the process.
in certain counties, this has been a point of friction between the county and the city annexation. I don't think that's been the case in Berkeley County. I could be wrong. You're grinning, but I know when I was county commissioner, every time a request was made, we granted the city's wish for annexation.
Well, I have to say, Bill, I'm grinning because I've been part of the city for the last 15 years, and the city county there's been clash over the years, but I have to say, right now today, the city and county gets along better than they ever have. We partner up with the county. We're doing a joint projects with the sobering center that we're opening up. There's $400,000 investment of the opioid money, and the county. It was a center that I wanted to make sure got open to address alcoholism, because we've addressed the opioid issues, and alcoholism is the #1 addiction in the state of West Virginia, and we've not had any place for police officers to take somebody who might be publicly drunk or intoxicated. They'd be sleeping either in the lobby of City Hall at one time, or even the lobby of the police station. So now this gives those individuals an opportunity to hear from people and be hopefully directed in the right direction. So that was a $200,000 investment by the city and the county. Eddie Golkenauer and I, we worked that together. And then, Parks and Rec. We just had a meeting with them the other day. Parks and Rec is hurting for money, and we're working on solutions together in a fair, equitable way. And last night we voted to give an additional $700,000 to Parks and Rec to get them where they need to be. Is that going to be enough? We don't know. I don't know the full. I do know the full details, but it's a start in the right direction. And I learned a lot of different things that during that meeting that I didn't know, or that I thought one way and it was the other way. So the communication between the county leadership and the city leadership is nothing but 100% collaborative at this point.
There has been some talk in the background, again, about Parks and Rec and maybe splitting the responsibilities, to have the city take care of the city, the county takes care of the county, and cut the school board out completely and entirely. Kevin, any thoughts on that?
Well, we are one of the, if not the only city in the state that does not have a park system underneath the city. And am I against that? Not totally against that, but it's not something that can happen overnight. That's a process. When they put the Parks and Rec together, that was a collaboration of both city and county, and again, through conversations that we've had recently with the county, everything is, we're working very close and very hard together to make this work. We know that the park system is the lifeblood to the city, and for people coming to the city, they look to see what kind of recreation and parks that you have. So we're all invested. We're all vested in seeing making this the best park system, not only in the Eastern Panhandle, but hopefully in the state at some time.
Would a budget? Parks and Rec has its own budget, of course. The city contributes to it somewhat. The county contributes somewhat, and of course with the hotel motel tax. Would you have, if that did come to fruition, would you have to have a separate budget for Parks and Rec in the city, and then how would Parks and Rec
most definitely? And we've looked at this, and it would be about a $3 million budget for the city to have a parks system, and that's a big jump in a budget to do that, and not to mention then you have to do the hiring process and what programs will we offer, won't offer. We don't know what that would look like. So at this point, that's not on the table. We're working, we're collaborating together to make this work, and hopefully bring Joe Burton to where to a point where things can work smoothly for them.
That would be a $3 million budget, but I would say many of the facilities within inside the city limits are also revenue generators to an extent. So how much of those would offset that $3 million? Or I don't know what the Rec Center 2000 is bringing in, or the pools during the summer, what they bring in. How much would that be offset by the revenue?
I would say if to offset that, it might be $1 million, $1.5 million.
Okay, so about half of it.
Because they don't charge a lot for individuals, and they don't designate between city and county residents. It's for everybody.
Sure.
The library is in the city limits, but yes, joint funded by you, the county, and some by the Board of Education. When will the library be reopened? Do you have any idea?
I had a meeting with the head of the library, had lunch with her 2 weeks ago, and she's very confident that the funding that she needed is there to get the place open, and she said I think October is what the time frame she had. She explained to me the issues and the problems that they came across. None of it was on city or county. It was a contracting issue that they found some asbestos that they weren't expecting, and what happened was once they exposed it and it came down, it got all over the books. So they had to redo, or they had to clean up all that mess in the books and everything. So that was a huge mess.
I'm surprised to hear that, because cleanup of asbestos is not new. We've been doing it for years. And encapsulation of the potential asbestos is step number one for cleanup. And so I'm surprised that the contract, whoever did it, allowed the escape of the asbestos fibers.
Well, right now, and I'm not part of that, and I can't be 100% sure, but I think there's some questions going back and forth on legalities and stuff. So somebody, just because they do that doesn't mean somebody makes a mistake. And
got a minute left here. You got the final question, Mike?
Go ahead.
The next time the city holds elections, will those elections coincide with the primary and general elections, Kevin, or are you still on your own for a couple of years?
No, we're going to see how it works for everybody else, and then we'll comply with the date that they set forth.
I think you have until
32.
2032.
I think it's 32.
So we'll get to see,
Yeah.
because there is going to be a lot of issues in a lot of areas because of overlapping precincts and territories and stuff like that.
30 seconds. Final word is yours.
Again, the city of Martinsburg is an open door policy. We want to hear what anybody has to think, any ideas or any dreams that they have. This is the time to bring them forward. As Mike said, that a lot of great things are happening here in the city of Martinsburg. We just created a POTA district last night, and we're going to be creating an art district within the POTA district. So we're excited about that.
I would have asked you about the POTA districts, but I covered that a lot with Nelson and Baker. So
thank you.
That's why you didn't have to address it today. Hey, Kevin, thanks for stopping in.
Hey, thanks for having me.